Welcome back to the Rhody Beat Report. My name is Peter Gigliotti. Joining me on the desk, Zach Petrick, Justin Therio, and Alexa Baker. We've got a great episode for you all today. We're going to be discussing the Rams' first win at New Hampshire since 1995, our main breakdown, our game reaction and analysis to that victory in Durham, as well as how the Rams are standing in CAA contention. Stay tuned for more as we're just getting started here on the Rhody Beat Report.
Now we'll take a look at how the Rams got it done in Durham for the first time since 1995. We spoke last week about how Saturday's contest against New Hampshire was the biggest moment of the season so far for the Rams, and they did more than show up. In the first quarter, a game between two offenses capable of really kicking in the guts and scoring at will. It started as a gritty, physical, defensive battle, with neither team giving in during the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, the second quarter was much of the same. Rams did break through with Justin's favorite unit, the special teams, with Moses Muse getting a block punt for a safety. So 2-0, right? Wildcats go downfield, score a field goal with a very strange score, 3-2 in the middle of the second. Ultimately, at the end of the first half, neither team could really get a spark on offense. It was a defensive first half for sure.
Yeah, and then we got to the third quarter where that strangeness sort of continued. You talk about 3-2's weird score. Well, I raised you 5-3, right? And so eventually it got to 12-3 on what was a muff punt that turned into a touchdown for Rhode Island. So once again, that special teams unit and those gunners, which are one of the most underrated positions in football, in my opinion. Gunners get good contracts at the NFL level. You've seen it if you're a Pats fan. They always have somebody that they give a nice contract to. And
Red Schooler, baby.
Right? So our version of that came through this weekend, and that's how we somehow the first touchdown in this gritty game was that muffed punt. And so at that point, a 12-3 score, all those 15 points coming on special teams. And then from there, Rhode Island made it 19-3 on a beautiful 57-yard touchdown pass from Devin to Buchanan, and it was a great route by Buchanan. If you haven't seen it, you could probably find it on the highlight reel somewhere. Buchanan runs a beautiful route, jukes out the safety at the top of the route, and then he's wide open. Devin does a good job of putting it in right into the breadbasket. While he didn't have his best game, it was certainly a highlight play from him to Buchanan, and that really kind of opened the door for Rhode Island going forward. At that point, they were up 19-3, and with the way both offenses have been playing, it kind of felt like that was a potential dagger.
Yeah, Buchanan really got out there, full extension. He's a tall man, too.
He is really tall. For him to run the routes the way he does so gracefully at his size, I think that's what makes him such an elite receiver, especially when you stick him in the slot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the Rams continue to dominate the fourth quarter. They killed the clock with the ground game, punching in one final touchdown by tight end Tommy Smith. He took a direct snap to increase the lead to 26-3. New Hampshire did get a touchdown, though, with 29 seconds remaining, but at that point, the Rams had more than secured the sixth win of the season to stay undefeated in the CAA.
Yeah, and I think Tommy Smith, direct snap touchdown is just a really great play out of the bag of tricks. You talk about it's a 19-3 lead. The game is pushing. I believe it's at the 4-minute mark. It's basically over. But if you want to have the dagger there, why not go with the Wildcat trick play up the middle, perfectly blocked, right through the gap into the end zone. Take your 26-3 lead, and New Hampshire does go down and score, but it just doesn't matter at that point.
Yeah, it was meaningless at that point, and I had said it before that muffed punt that turned into a touchdown for the Rams sort of felt like the dagger. The Buchanan touchdown is what felt like the dagger. This Tommy Smith Wildcat play, which great player to choose to do it, and I'll explain why in a second, but this what felt like twisting the dagger, right? Just put them out of their misery, end it. Rhode Island gets their first win. It's in Durham since 1995. But Tommy Smith being the guy to receive the snap on the Wildcat formation made a lot of sense to me. This is a guy that came to the University of Rhode Island as a quarterback prospect. Big body, strong arm, relatively mobile, not really fast, but kind of like Josh Allen type where he'll run through you more so than outrun you. And so he's played wide receiver now. He's played tight end in the past. So he's an all-around athlete. He's comfortable with the ball in his hands. He's comfortable in the quarterback spot. So to put him in there with a heavy unit in the Wildcat formation, good thinking and creative thinking by this coaching staff, and hopefully we'll see a little bit more of this going forward. They got a lot of really difficult games left on their schedule, and when you have weeks like this where the offensive performance is sort of bleak, it's nice to be able to make up for it by putting in creative plays, especially at the goal line.
Hi, it's Emily Lanzaron from the Rhody Beat Report, and at this time we would like to acknowledge the Rhody Athletics Challenge, a fundraiser dedicated to supporting your favorite Rhody athletics and the football team. URI Athletics is now accepting donations through Thursday, October 24th to help our student athletes succeed in the classroom and on the field. Donations go towards our athletes' support services such as equipment, sports medicine, strength and conditioning, nutrition, and so much more. Support through our Rhody alumni portal at alumni.uri.edu today.
Now that we've had some time to evaluate another Rams victory, why don't we go over some game reaction and analysis from Saturday's win? First of all, statement game from the Rams defense. This UNH passing game is considered one of the best in the CAA. We held them to barely over 200 passing yards, 20 rushing yards on 25 attempts. Guys, the biggest thing that stood out to me, 2 for 15 on third down conversions. That's going to win you a lot of football games.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good sign when you look ahead at the rest of the schedule and you see Monmouth on there, you see Albany. Those are going to be really difficult games. And in the past, especially you look back to 2021, 2022, Rhode Island seasons were sort of derailed by high-volume, prolific quarterbacks. We saw it against Elon. We saw it against UNH, and in the past, I should say. And so this year, when you get a statement from the defense like we did this weekend against a good quarterback, it gives you a different sense of hope that you might not have had with this program in the past.
And, you talk about the defense specifically. Linebackers Cole Brockwell and Devin Hightower had a combined 17 tackles, 4 of them for loss, and a half a sack. So 2 great performances from those 2 linebackers. Corner Freddie Millay, even as he has his hand wrapped, he still came up with an interception. He had 8 tackles, one of those for a loss as well. So a really good game. I believe he was CAA Co-Defensive Player of the Week as well. Mm-hmm. So an interception with his hand wrapped. A big play in that, I believe it was the second half, to really get something going. It led into those Rams 3 points into that field goal to make it 5-3. Emmanuel Gomes continues to be on a tear with the big hits. Game after game, we see one of those from him. And then Gabe Solomon, AJ Pena, the 2 guys we've talked about so much over the last, few weeks have continued to just get better. Solomon, 6 tackles, half a sack. Pena, 2 sacks again. And he almost had an interception early in the game. So another 2 great performances from those 2 guys, and we continue to talk about them week in and week out.
Yeah, we continue to talk about them the same way we continue to talk about the special teams. It's sort of not started as a gimmick between all of us, but we talked about how great they had been with the field positioning, right? And that sort of battle and how the punters have been great. Now we're talking about getting safeties and getting touchdowns and hitting multiple field goals, and the fact that at one point this game was sitting at 12-3 and it was all special teams for Rhode Island. And so this week we saw Moses Muse block a punt, which realistically could have been a touchdown for Rhode Island. They had it in the end zone. They just couldn't come up with it.
There was a chance, for sure.
Everyone saw the clip. They had it. They missed out on the opportunity, but regardless, they ended up making up for it when Freddie recovered the muffed punt and turned it into a touchdown. So right there, that's 9 points for Rhode Island. In one of those instances, you get the ball back. Mm-hmm. So the special teams continue to show up big for Rhode Island. I mean, last week we talked about Solomon's special teams player of the week, and then you have this kind of crown jewel performance from the special teams. So it's really been a testament to the special teams coaching staff, to the players that make up that unit, and just how great they have been every single week, and how they continue to find ways to grow their impact on the game on a week in and week out basis.
On the other side of the ball, the offense did not have an amazing performance, but did come up in big moments. Quarterback Devin Farrell finished 10 for 23 for 147 yards. He did have a beautiful 57-yard touchdown pass to Marquise Buchanan. The run game also carried. Malik Grant had 25 carries for 127 rushing yards, which was awesome for him. And another awesome thing for our O-line, no sacks were allowed against the pass rushing attack in the conference, which is huge for moving forward.
We talked about that pass rushing attack from UNH so much last week, the 3 of us. Josiah Silver, not a single sack is so surprising to look at, after the fact.
Yeah.
That pass rush is some of the best in, FCS football, in the CAA specifically as well. They have been so good. The way that the offensive line was able to protect Devin, every single one of those guys deserves credit. They were able to, stay through the game. The defense held the Rams in the game, but then the offense were able to, push it forward, explode in the second half. That big touchdown that Alexa mentioned. Those are huge moments. And so I think protecting the quarterback, even though, Justin, you talked about interceptions early, you'd rather get them out early.
Yeah.
So it happened at the beginning of the game. Foul, not a great interception. It wasn't the prettiest throw. It wasn't the best read, but he got out of the way. They didn't turn the ball over for the rest of the game. And you know what? 57 yards from Marquise Buchanan. That was the dagger in the third quarter.
And you like that they didn't go away from him. You like that they continue to let him swing it, right? Throw the rock, and he made the big plays when necessary. And while not every win this season has been pretty, Rhode Island has honestly had a lot of its fair share of ugly wins. You see that the issues that have plagued this team in the past kind of be resolved. We have talked about it a lot because we have been media members for a couple of years now. Josiah Silver has wrecked multiple games for Rhode Island himself, single-handedly. And we talked about the whole pass rushing unit for UNH has been fantastic this year, and yet this week, nothing, not. And so that has been an issue in the past for Rhode Island. Wasn't an issue this week and hasn't been for multiple weeks now. They haven't allowed a sack for multiple weeks, which is a big deal when you have a sophomore quarterback like Farrell. And then you also, like we touched on, the passing defense for Rhode Island. In the past, it's cost them some games against good quarterbacks. This year, that just hasn't been the case. So, well, not every win has been pretty, and this week you relied a lot on special teams to make up for where the offense was lacking. They still have found a way to iron out issues they've had in previous seasons, and they have now found a way to get a ranked win under the belt. They have found a way to get 6-1, and they continue to climb in the polls. And so far this season, they're now up to 15, I believe, and it's just been, well, it hasn't been the prettiest looking season on the field. It has been in the results, I should say.
Last week, we discussed the significance of New Hampshire. This time, on the road, a stadium we haven't won in 29 years against an explosive pass offense, an elite pass rush like we just mentioned, and a team they hadn't seen yet this season. So now it was a top 25 contest. Rhode Island, 17, I believe New Hampshire was 24-19. I believe they were 19 in the coaches poll. And they showed that ranking off at the game. I can promise you that. They used their higher ranking. They really pushed that they were 19. So the Rams' first win since 1995 in Durham at Wildcat Stadium. Looking forward, though, the Rams' work is nowhere near done. They have 5 games to go, and they play against Maine on Saturday, a team that just beat Villanova, who was the number 5 ranked team in the FCS, arguably the top team in the conference. Then, they play a Monmouth team at home, a ferocious offense. I mean, maybe one of the best offenses in CAA history. They just continue to score at will. Their defense is a little weaker, but that pass attack, that rush attack is so good for Monmouth. So that's back-to-back opponents for the Rams, who are both receiving votes as well. Good teams who come to Meade Stadium. Monmouth, they beat FBS team FIU a few weeks ago. They can score like nobody else. They can score with FBS teams. Then after that, they have Delaware. Delaware, last year's co-conference champion, so they're really good. They are moving up to FBS, so they are ineligible, but they are also very, very good. And, a win at Delaware means so much to your program. UAlbany, they also fantastic last season. They made the playoffs, and then, the Rams then closed the regular season in-state rivalry against Bryant. Bryant has been weaker this year, first year in the conference. But again, you want to win those rivalry games. They beat Brown. You got to go beat Bryant. If you beat Bryant and you beat Brown, you're the king of the state.
Yes. I mean, we've said it all season long. The Rams control their own destiny, especially at this point. It's really easy for a lot of teams to go into a place like Durham, a place where you've lost pretty often, and you lost a playoff game there. That was pretty pivotal. It's pretty easy for teams to take their foot off the gas. You can't do that now. You have to continue to win week in and week out. You have to demand excellence from your team, like Coach Wilning has done for the last few weeks. Heading into CAA play, there's only one other team that's completely undefeated, Richmond, who we do not play. You play Delaware, you play UAlbany, and you play Monmouth, like Zach mentioned. You just have to make sure you stay vigilant and you stay on the edge of your seat, really. Continue to be your best and try and win out.
Yeah, I mean, standing in the CAA is really important, especially you look back to 2022 when Rhode Island sat 5th in the CAA and somehow saw a Delaware team that was 6th in the conference jump them. So we take a look at where the CAA teams sit in the stats poll, which is the poll used in the voting process when the playoff process for the playoff committee at the FCS level, when they decide who's in and who's out. They do consider this poll pretty strongly. So as for the CAA, it's Villanova, who dropped from 5 to 13 after that loss that you had mentioned to UMaine. And then Rhode Island now sits to 15. I know some people kind of expected them to jump up a little bit higher after that win, but we've seen them kind of get slighted by voters in the past. So just one spot up. William and Mary, who Rhode Island does not play this season, sits at 16. And then at 18, you have Richmond. So all those CAA teams all piled up right in the middle of the top 25. And then you also have Stony Brook, Monmouth, New Hampshire, Maine. All of these schools, I mean, the entire top half of this conference are all receiving votes. They're all playoff contenders with plenty of weeks left, right? So 5 games left on the docket. Almost all of them will be against really competitive playoff contending teams. Like you said, Peter, cannot afford to take your foot off the gas.
Mm-hmm.
You sit at 6 wins currently, and you need to be at 8 to even be on the chopping block and 9 to feel good about yourself. So still a lot of work to get done for Rhode Island.
And on the other side of things, the AFCA coaches poll, we have Richmond at 13, Villanova 14, William and Mary 15, Rhode Island 16, and Stony Brook at 24. And like Justin also mentioned, New Hampshire and Monmouth are receiving votes, so it is key that the Rams continue to win, and they are controlling their own destiny here.
Yeah, the CAA is just, it's always been like this, I would say, for the last, 5 years. Hyper competitive. You're going to send 4 to 5 teams to the playoffs each year. Rhode Island has not been back to the postseason since their magical run in 1985, so it would mean a lot for the program to get back to it.
As we are past the halfway point of the regular season, we want to give it up for some of your Rhody Rams who are setting the stage not only for football at Meade Stadium, but around the CAA. First off, quarterback Devin Farrell is 7th in the conference in total offensive yards with 1,414. Running back Malik Grant is 5th in the conference in total rushing yards, 576, and 8th in the conference in all-purpose yards with 690. Next, we have wide receiver Marquise Buchanan is 8th in the conference in total receiving yards with 453. Linebacker Cole Brockwell is 2nd in the conference in total tackles with 66 and 9th in the conference in tackles for a loss with 7. And next we have linebacker AJ Pena and is 3rd in the conference in total sacks with 7 and 2nd in the conference in total tackles for a loss with 11. And now we have cornerback Ayinde Johnson. He was tied for 8th in the conference in pass breakups with 5.
Thank you all for tuning in to today's episode of Rhody Beat Report. This is Alexa Baker. I'm joined by Justin Therio, Zach Petrick, and Peter Gigliotti. Tune in next week as the Rams stay home for family weekend against Monmouth.